Let's get the views now of the former Brexit Secretary, Dominic Raab, who joins us now. Mr Raab, thanks for joining us. Keeping dry, very, very wise. Just to start, I mean, I do wonder, Mr Raab, are you missing the job of Brexit Secretary right now? I mean, there's certainly plenty going on.
Yes, I certainly missed the challenge of it, and it was in sorrow, not in anger, that I stepped down, but I just, in good conscience, didn't feel I could recommend the deal that was presented and the final terms agreed at the end to the country.
I suspect then that your view on that has not changed. Nothing that you heard yesterday, either from your colleagues on the back benches or indeed from the Prime Minister itself. You are still firmly of the opinion that this is a bad deal, one to be avoided. So what else is there that we can do?
Yes, in fact, I'm strengthened in that view, not least since the publication of the legal advice, which makes very clear that under this deal, under the backstop, as it's called, we'd be signing up to a whole suite of laws and regulations under which we'd have no say and no ability to exit. And that would be actually the starting point, not the end point, for the future relationship. No democratic country in history has signed up to that. In answer to your second question, if Parliament votes this down, what should we do? In my view, the Prime Minister is at her best when she stands tall and stands strong, and we should go back to the EU, stop being blackmailed and bullied, make our best final offer, the terms that would be palatable to this country, that would give effect to the referendum, and equally be very clear, if our reasonable and common sense approach is not accepted, we would in the last analysis be willing to walk away.
But in terms of heading back to Brussels, I mean, what on earth do you think that can be possibly achieved there, particularly given that the major sticking point appears to be the backstop, and as things stand, as yet, we still have no practical solution to the problem of the border on the island of Ireland?
Well, I don't agree with that. I think there are a range of technological solutions which, coupled with goodwill on both sides, could resolve this. And that's also, by the way, the view, if you listen to John Thompson, the head of HMRC. I've been down to the border area of South Armagh, from Newry right the way across to Crossmaglen. I've looked very carefully at the situation. I've taken it very seriously. But I think actually what the EU is trying to do is not resolve the substantive issue around the border between the Republic and Northern Ireland, which is an issue we need to address. What they've tried to do is massively politicise it. It's been politicised in Dublin, and it's been used by Brussels as a way of controlling the UK and trying to stop us take the advantages, grasp the advantages of Brexit. And that's just blackmail, and we shouldn't succumb to that.
But in terms of that amendment that Dominic Raab managed to get through with the assistance of, among others, Michael Fallon, Oliver Letwin of all people, I mean, what is your view of that? Does that give the House of Commons essentially a sign-off on whatever Plan B comes? And do you accept the fact that it will be those who are Brexit supporters amongst your colleagues who see that option, who might now vote for this deal where previously they might not?
Well, I can't speak for what MPs will be deciding in the balance, but what is clear is that the vote yesterday will not affect the ultimate outcome, because votes in Parliament on motions are not legally binding. So if absolutely, but sorry, politically, can I just finish the point?
You can't, yeah, but politically, I mean, I understand the legal argument, but politically, are you saying that that could be ignored by the government?
Look, to reverse the course of Brexit will require legislation or lack of will in number 10 Downing Street. And I believe this Prime Minister is true to her word that she's going to deliver Brexit. She always said no deal was better than a bad deal. And I think if Parliament turns this deal down, we shouldn't flounce off. We should go back and make a reasonable best final offer to Brussels. But ultimately, we do need to be willing to walk away. And that's the only way in any negotiation you get sensible terms.
Mr Raab, you're arguing that you're ignoring the will of the House of Commons. That didn't work out very well for you yesterday, did it?
What I'm doing is setting the clear constitutional position, which is motions of Parliament are politically have weight for sure, but they don't legally bind the government. And what matters right now, both domestically but also in Brussels, is political resolve and will.
So let's just be clear, Dominic Raab's amendment doesn't matter.
I didn't say it didn't matter. I said it didn't have legally binding force, and therefore it cannot alone stop Brexit or reverse the outcome. And the outcome is that unless something changes matters, we will leave the EU at the end of March with a deal or without a deal. I would like us to get a deal, but we're going to have to be much tougher with Brussels, much firmer and more resolute if we're going to get them to take us more seriously.
OK, simple question. If, as we all assume, Tuesday goes badly for the Prime Minister and she does indeed take your advice, head to Brussels to try and thrash out something, some more compromises, would you be happy with Article 50 being paused at that point to give her the time?
No, I don't think the issue is...
Why not?
Because it's not time we need, it's decisions. And I think all that we'd end up doing is kicking the can down the road, and I don't think that's necessary. I think we need to make the decisions now.
But in terms of getting what you want, a deal which allows us to strike our own FTAs, but at the same time allows us our sovereignty and our integrity, I mean, wouldn't you be prepared to give the Prime Minister the time to secure that if securing it were possible?
So, by the way, what you're talking about is what the vast majority of countries around the world enjoy, so we're not asking for something particularly outrageous or special. I think we've had 2 years of these negotiations, and I don't think we would be more likely to get compromise from the EU if they thought they could string us out just for a little bit longer. Then we're more likely to get compromise, pragmatism, a bit more goodwill from the EU if they know we're serious about walking away from a lousy deal, which is what this is.
Just remind us, Mr Raab, have you submitted a letter to the chairman of the 1922?
No, and I support this Prime Minister and I want to see her make a success of Brexit.